Let me ask y'all something. We're talking about Harrison Barnes and the potential of him being in Sacramento for the next 3 years. And a lot of people, they're not feeling it. But I'm also seeing a lot of texts that
They not feeling it.
not feeling Kyle Kuzma.
They not feeling Kuzma.
So my question is like, I'll just ask and you can respond. I don't even know how to put this in like a poll question. Like, who do you want? Who do you want here? Like, if you don't want, if Harrison doesn't, if you don't feel like Harrison Barnes, now keep this in mind too. I know Kenny's talking about bringing guys back, and if hypothetically the Kings were to run it back, well, let's reframe that idea a little bit. Let's suppose Harrison Barnes comes back. Let's suppose Trey Lyles comes back.
Mm-hmm.
You got a draft pick coming in, but you have the ability to do some other things in free agency. Of course, there's the Sasha piece of all of this as well.
Right.
You think the Kings stay the same? You don't think they get a step closer to the title? You don't think Keegan Murray's improvement a big part of this? You think they get worse? Like, what is it? What are people's hang-ups? Did we have our sights set too strongly on OG Anunoby? Like, what is it exactly that would make Kings fans feel good about where this Sacramento Kings team is going?
Once again, realistically.
Right? Exactly. That's a key phrase in this whole thing. Realistically, what is it that you want? Like, and Ben, like, I know, bro, you tweet this and you put it in the chat that you think Harrison Barnes is Kenny Thomas. That's fine. Like, Harrison Barnes, we're talking 3 years. We're not talking 5. We're not talking the at the time the amount of money that Kenny Thomas made. Like, that's not where these aren't even close to the same thing, man. We get it. You don't like Harrison Barnes. That's fine. What's your option though?
Mm-hmm.
Give me something else. If you don't want Harrison Barnes back here, tell me what it is that you do want that you feel like is realistic. Tell me what it is that you do want, because we talk about Kyle Kuzma. All right. Kyle Kuzma seems to like this version of the Sacramento Kings.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'm guessing he probably likes the Los Angeles Lakers too. And I'm guessing the Los Angeles Lakers probably like him. Maybe not as a plan A. Maybe not even as a plan B.
Right.
I would guess a potential pursuit of Kyle Kuzma probably ranks ahead of a plan C or D. Somewhere in that vicinity, it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want?
Who
does it for you?
Once again, I like Kuzma. I just look at Harrison Barnes as just fine. Like a guy Benny talking about, Harrison and being stuck with him. The one thing that I could say about Harrison Barnes, and I don't think this is being stuck with anybody, especially when you talk about 3 years. 3 years happened just like that. You know what you're getting. Getting 15 points a game, getting 4 rebounds, 3-4 assists. Not even that many, really. It says 1.6. So you're not getting any assists. But you're not getting any stupid, silly decisions. You know what you're getting. Like, that's cool. That's like something you can win with. And you're getting a guy that plays all the time. So you can set your clock to Harrison Barnes' production. Now, a lot of people may feel like you need better than that. Guess what? You might get better with Keegan Murray. I think if you ask the Kings, they would tell you the hope is that maybe even by the end of next year, Harrison Barnes isn't the third leading scorer on that team. It's Keegan Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the goal, is for it to be Fox, Sabonis, Keegan, and then some kind of mix of Harrison, Malik, Herter, how he plays and all that.
With Harrison still kind of lingering in that same 14 to 15 point
range. Exactly. And then now, if you're talking about Harrison Barnes as your, and that's kind of what we saw this year. It's kind of what we saw this year.
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Barnes is your 4th or 5th best option on the offense, and maybe your 4th or 5th best player. That's a winning formula. He's overqualified for that. So I think a lot of people are looking at because like that's kind of what we're talking about, really. Like, unless you're talking about Kuz, I don't know how people may feel OG could get there. you mentioned it before. You sniffed it out a while ago. I'm not as crazy about OG as other people are. I like him, but it's not. I'm not. I'm just. I don't look at him the same way as some kind of game changer or anything else like that. I think he's more about what Harrison Barnes is, and if it's going to cost you a lot to go get him, I'd be just fine with just keeping Harrison.
Looking at special ed here. Special ed says I'll take Oubre, Reed, and Kuzma over Harrison Barnes. Oubre, I'm not really sure about. Nas Reed, I'm guessing Minnesota probably wants him too. I think there's a report out there that Minnesota wants him.
I think Minnesota has a situation where they got to choose between him and McDaniels. All because
Okay.
of that Rudy Gobert situation. Well,
Mhm.
Rudy Cat getting
Mhm.
ready for Ant.
Mhm.
Some of that might have changed because they traded D'Angelo Russell, but
Probably not much though.
yeah,
Probably not much. Yeah, Nas Reed is certainly an interesting component, but special ed, I'll ask you this: you want Nas Reed as a starter next
mm,
to Domas?
mm.
You want that? Oh, okay,
He can shoot the ball a little bit, a little
okay.
bit. He's a little bit of a stretch threat, but then you got to ask yourself, and this is where Mike Brown and Monty McNair and all these guys come into play. How confident are you that Keegan Murray's a three? If you ask me today, I'm not that confident that he's a three. I'm not confident enough to say he's a three, go get you a four. Like you got that locked down. I'm not there yet. He may develop into that. He may be that. But today, if I got to make this decision in the next week or so, right? In some cases, got to make the decision today or yesterday,
Mm,
depending on what's going on back
mm.
in the back channels. I'm not sold on Keegan Murray being a three. I'm not. So now, if you're going to get Nas Reed starting next to Demontis Sabonis, then you're saying, all right, I believe Keegan Murray's a three. I'm not there with you yet.
Josh She says, Cool's probably asking 3 years, 60 million. All of these guys are probably asking 3 years,
Right.
60 million, including Harrison Barnes.
Right.
So don't like I wouldn't get hung up on the cost of guys like Kyle Kuzma, Harrison Barnes, any of these guys. I think it's all going to be a wash in the end. It's going to be all of these guys we've talked about, with the exception of Nas Reed. I don't have a feel for what Nas Reed's. I
Right.
don't know what
Me
Nas
neither.
Reed's market
Me
is.
neither.
But all of the other guys we've talked about, including what OG Anunoby is going to want later, and if you're Monty McNair, you're going to want to pay him later. Should that trade wind up materializing, it's all probably going to be within plus or minus 3 to 4 million of each other total. So I wouldn't put what it's going to cost too much into the equation.
Right.
If you want a starter at that position, that's what it's going to cost you,
Yep.
including if it's Harrison Barnes.
Yep. Facts.
And I think Run DMG makes hey, Run DMG says, in Monty we trust. And that's what you've got to decide.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to talk about this leading into the draft. It's going to be fun to talk about it next week leading into free agency. But do you trust Monty McNair? Do you trust the decisions that he's made? Do you trust the picks that he's made? Do you trust the move that he's made? And do you trust that if Harrison Barnes is the guy at 3 years, 57 to 60 million, that's what's best for the team? Do you trust that if it's Kyle Kuzma, 3 years, 60 million, that's what's best for the team? Kelly Oubre, whatever player that you like, you got to decide whether you're going to go all in on it. And if a deal is made for OG Anunoby, which again, if you're just tuning in, I think the likelihood on that one is starting to dwindle.
I agree.
For a variety of different reasons. And I don't think any of them have to do with Sacramento, to be honest with you. I think there's some other things at play here that are kind of holding this thing up. And I don't think anything involving Sacramento, anything potentially involving Sacramento and Toronto, has a Thursday deadline. But I do think anything involving Sacramento and Toronto has a next Thursday deadline. Because
smell what you're cooking.
Kings can't get caught on their ass waiting for something that might not happen with Toronto.
Yeah.
And they might not even want to wait that long. It's like they may have a self-imposed deadline. But if the Sacramento Kings make a selection at 24 and the weekend goes by quietly and you're still holding out hope for OG Anunoby, that's fine. But if we get to Thursday and we don't have a trade to announce, I'm pretty confident the first thing we're doing at 3:00 is announcing the Sacramento Kings have signed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is it's going to be Harrison Barnes. What happens after that, I don't know. I'm talking about this position exclusively.
Yeah.
Because I don't see a situation where the Kings continue to pursue OG Anunoby after signing Harrison Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's one or the other.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that one. The chatty house is on fire today. Jordan
Love
Meeks says KC doesn't have the Coco Jones to put Keegan at the 3.
Coco Jones, part of Soul Bloom lineup. That's a good reference. That's a good reference, Jordan Meeks. For those who aren't in on that bit, we believe someone tried to type cojones one day, and it turned out Coco Jones. So
that was hilarious.
The new bit is you don't have the Coco Jones to pull that move off.
Yeah, the other thing about all of this, especially like if you bring back Harrison Barnes, or if you sign Kyle Kuzma or Oubre or something like that, this is the plus to me in a signing as opposed to a trade.
Mm-hmm.
You still have the same assets. Worst case scenario, going into the season or during the season, to make a deal in season, right? Rashawn Holmes, Davion Mitchell, the rookie. Like, I know, ideally you traded 24 because there's not a person there yet, and they can pick whoever they want.
Man, and sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Don't get lost on the value of that.
Oh, there's nobody there?
Today, you're trading a number.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, you're trading a name.
Mm-hmm.
And that starts to create a lot of different feelings for people.
It does, but I'm trying to think here. No, that was a different trade, I think. But the Cavs made the Donovan Mitchell deal after the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And made that deal with Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think about Walker Kessler. Was he before the draft or was he already drafted and the Timberwolves I think he was already drafted and the Timberwolves sent him to Utah for Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, because the Minnesota thing was they're getting, like, what was it, 4 draft picks plus the kid they just drafted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which was
Walker Kessler, who was in the first team.
So it was like it was really 5. Yeah.
So I mean, that's why I say, and I agree with you, there is a lot of value in no name attached in moving 24, but you can still move 24 after you've already picked.
No, you can.
And have that as part of a deal.
You can. I just think it creates different emotions when you do that.
I absolutely can. Absolutely can.
I just think it's just
Abaji. That's why I couldn't remember what his name was. Who Cleveland got. Abaji.